Hawley took another championship, but it was uncomfortably close at the end. His rough start to the season gave Daniel Knight a realistic shot at finally dethroning the multi-time champion, but it was not to be. As a new year and a new season begins, everything gets wiped clean and we start anew. Can someone finally figure out how to beat Bradley? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 1 of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Michigan has become one of the more fearsome tracks on the calendar. To understand what's so unique about this place in a world of cookie-cutter ovals, let's head to our track guide.
Welcome to the Michigan International Speedway. This 2-mile D-shaped oval located in the beautiful Irish hills of southern Michigan, sitting about an hour-and-a-half's drive to the southwest of Detroit along I-94, right in the backyard of Chevrolet and Ford. When you're that close to Detroit Power, your speedway better live up to the hype. 18-degree banked corners with a 12-degree banked front stretch allow for maximum power and lots of action. The higher downforce Indy cars were able to put on spectacular shows of driver bravery and talent. In recent years, it's played host to mostly the tin top cars, as the NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, Gander Truck, and even ARCA Series have all hosted events here in the last decade. Michigan is a wide, sweeping oval, but it isn't harmless. The lowest groove of the corners near the bottom can be your very best friend in the IndyCar, but your worst enemy in the tin tops. Cars will frequently get loose that far down the track, causing chaos for the pack behind. Michigan is all about speed and lots of it. Often the drivers that find the most success here are the ones willing to experiment around the track and find grip their competitors haven't. The facility in recent years has doubled down on fan comfort as well, giving more elbow room, redoing seats, camping areas, even providing Wi-Fi to watch all of these live broadcasts in the grandstands of all the sections. All in all, Michigan has become a staple of American motorsports since it opened in 1968. Fans and drivers both always look forward to when the schedules come back to the beautiful Irish hills of southern Michigan. Fast speeds, high action, it's all here at Michigan International Speedway, where it's your speed.
And there's the lovely Irish hills here in Michigan. But Chris, what's it going to be like with the trucks on here?
Well, this is the legacy layout for MIS, so it is going to be a little bit bumpier than what we're used to seeing on TV. Also, this is a bit of a loose setup here, so expect the drivers to have a little bit of fight with the trucks. Does seem to level out over the distance of a run, but it's going to come down to tire saving and keeping that momentum up to be the key to the race today.
Something to really watch out for, I'm sure. But today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net.
The PRL NASCAR Truck Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Right now, we've just finished up qualifying, so here is our starting grid for today. Bradley Hawley on the pole with Connor Hall starting next to him. Richard Regan Jr. in P3 is flanked by Aaron Mulrooney Jr. Then in 5th, it's Colton Lane, and on his outside, it's Patrick Cowgill. Abner Acosta starts in 7th. He'll be followed by Baron Hilton in 8th and Daniel Knight in 9th. Brandon Walter rounds out your top 10.
Just outside of the top 10 is going to be Adam Zemke starting 11th with Danny Cervantes to his outside. Dominic Beijing and Thomas Sink are going to compose row number 7 with 15th position going to Doug Evans. Outside of him is Blaine Adams with Mark Kalin, John LaBaff, Brett Adams, and Mike Richter completing your top 20 starters.
Brennan Chatley will be P21, and then Brandon Adams starts 22nd. Adam Young will be 23rd, followed by Nicholas Hunter in at 24th. To the inside of the next row, Jose Medina, P25, Nicholas Schwartz, N26, and Charles Sumner in 27th. Austin Hunter, he'll start 28th. Then it's going to be Jim Westerfield, and Adam Shane will start in 30th.
And then coming in just outside of the top 30 is going to be Stacy Hunter, followed by Ryan Traver in 32nd. Matthew Aubrey will be 33rd on the grid, with William Lee next up. Matthew Kulhanek is 35th, with Ed Fowler, Terry Mariano, James Dewar, William Farmer, and Shelby Huff completing your top 40 starters.
A lot of trucks here today, so it is going to be a very full field. Before we get to the racing itself, we want to let you know that starting January 1st, Precision Racing League is holding a yearly draw where you can win a Butt Kicker Gamer 2 kit worth $180 and up to $225 in iRacing gift cards. How can you enter to win? Simply head over to precisionracingleague.com and get a premium membership to be added to the draw. In addition, premium members get priority for a driver slot when signing up for a series. Enter now. Getting ready to go racing for 55 laps out there today. This will be a fun one and should be exciting for the drivers as well as the fans. And at what is a incredibly fast track with very wide. So the 184 of Bradley Hawley getting ready to take the green. Apologies, we're going to lose pictures here for just a moment as we try to deal with some stuff behind the scenes, but we'll keep you up to speed on what's happening on the track. The pace car getting ready to pull in. There it heads down to the lane. Holly waits, looking for the green flag. Waits a long time. The 184 holding them up, and the green flag is out. He gets on the loud pedal, does not get the greatest of jumps over Connor Hall to his outside in the 77. Top four, though, pull away just a little bit from the rest of the pack as they slowly pick up speed into the first corner. I imagine it's going to be a bit Talladega-esque here, Chris, to get them completely wound up.
That has been the name of the game with these trucks the last couple seasons with this current engine configuration. And a very uncharacteristic poor start from Bradley Hawley. He is able to maintain the lead, but right now he has the 46 of Richard Regan Jr. right on his back bumper with that 77 of Connor Hall to his outside. Keep in mind, Joe, this is the legacy edition of Michigan International Speedway, so this track does not have the same grip as the current version of the track.
Yeah, incredibly different, and they're three wide for the lead. Hawley to the inside, Regan in the middle, and then Hall to the outside. Regan's got a nose ahead as they head into turn one for lap 2, and he's going to completely move into the lead. Second goes to the 77, as it seems like Hawley's truck does not like the bottom side. He's fallen to third and already losing another spot to Daniel Knight. The number 17, last season's second place finisher, able to squeeze up into P3. Another change for the lead is Regan Jr. is going to be overtaken by Hall. A lot of swapping around very early.
Yeah, again, the way this series has been the last few seasons, it's very strange to see the 184 have some trouble. Problems for the 17 of, was that Daniel Knight that was having issues there?
I saw Connor Hall.
That was Connor Hall.
Yeah, he was squirrely on the front stretch, and he falls way down the order to 12th. He might even go lower than that, so your new order at the top is Regan Jr., Daniel Knight, and Bradley Hawley, your top three. Looks like Mulrooney Jr. also managing to get into fourth. That's just on the high side of Abner Acosta. Coming over from the sports cars, seeing how he fares here in the trucks. A top five, certainly not too shabby so far. They come around to start lap 4. And this is an interesting and slightly frantic beginning to this race.
Yeah, kind of to be expected on a track like this. The way these trucks are set up, as you mentioned, Joe, this is going to race a lot like a Talladega or Daytona. And you can see right now, challenge for the lead with the 17 of Daniel Knight to the inside of Richard Regan Jr. Bradley Hawley beginning to creep back into the picture as well.
So Daniel Knight up to the point himself now. We've had, gosh, how many lead changes have we had? It's been more laps than we had, I'm pretty sure, as they have just been swapping back and forth and using that slipstream to great effect up at the front. As Regan Jr. gets in behind him, takes little looks to the outside, but decides to instead just stay in line. Bradley Holly just behind in third. There's a little bit of chatter between Holly and Regan Jr. Regan asking if he's got damage. Holly saying negative, that the truck looks clean.
Yeah, you can see maybe a little bit of cosmetic damage on the back of the 46, Joe, from our vantage point. But nonetheless, it looks like that truck no worse for wear for the most part as Daniel Knight continues to lead. Daniel Knight had a very impressive first half of the season during the fourth quarter of
2020. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
The previous season to this. He did a tremendous in the first part of the season, but kind of fell off towards the end and ended up coming up a little bit short in the championship.
So the 46 manages to get down low. Regan's going to take the lead right back from Daniel Knight. Bradley Holly still interested in this after a strange start where he suddenly finds himself falling backwards. And he's going to manage to sneak into second. Behind them, it's side by side for fourth. This is Mulrooney Jr. and Abner Acosta. Mulrooney on the high side, Acosta on the low side. Top three get single file. Regan up to the front. That doesn't last long. Regan now has Holly to his inside, and Holly back up to the pole position once more. So down the back stretch, they finally get single file, at least for a brief moment. Behind them, and actually, it is very, very single file through much of the pack. It just seems to be the leaders who have no interest in trying to play nice here at the start. Looks like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, this is a start of a new season, so this is pretty much a blank sheet for these guys. And a lot of people want to stamp their authority on the championship races here early on.
Glad to see two of our rivals from last season back at it again between Knight and Holly. I'm sure Knight is going to be hungry to try and finally be able to take one over on the 184 truck, who has just been winning championship after championship. As they come down the back stretch, Holly's got the momentum. He's going to eke ahead of the number 46, who sits in second. The 17 of Knight drops back on the high side, coming through 3 and 4. They're getting ready to start lap 9 here in a second.
Now that 46 of Richard Regan Jr., who runs in the second spot under a big threat from the 17 of Daniel Knight at the moment. He's a bit of a trophy hunter when it comes to the truck series. I know he runs the Cup series for PRL pretty regularly, but he likes to come into the truck series when he has time and is always out for the win and usually in contention.
No surprises there. And Regan, who rides the high side above Knight, now fighting for second place as they trail behind Holly. And fifth place behind them, I see Mulrooney and Cowgill. Excuse me, that's Cowgill and Bajin fighting for P5, it appears. They come off of turn 4 once again. So far, though, despite a lot of shuffling around, I haven't seen too many scary scenarios other than that one sketchy moment for Connor.
That's a very good point, Joe. The PRL Truck Series has a pretty stringent rule on penalty points as far as their incidences go on the track. They're not afraid to park drivers or punish drivers for racing over their head. And that's had a tremendous effect on the quality of their racing. And it's pretty rare to see races filled with cautions for these trucks.
Great news for fans and drivers alike. So single file for the top 4. Now it's Cowgill and Bajin still racing wheel to wheel through turns 3 and 4 onto the front stretch. Bajin gets the momentum. He manages to put Cowgill solidly back in 6. That's going to cause a chain reaction, though. Looks like Zimke and Lane behind them are going to go side by side, as once again we got a battle for P2 up at the front, down into turns 1 and 2. Regan Jr. underneath Bradley Holly, and the 184 who goes high uses the momentum to try and slingshot past Daniel Knight, who currently holds the lead.
And looks like Regan's going to give Holly a bit of a push off into the corner. He falls back in line behind the 17 of Knight, but right now it's Holly and Knight side by side for the top spot. Knight with a narrow advantage as they come off of turn 4.
Ooh, little bit of a slippery moment there for the number 17. Knight going up a little high, and Holly had a jolt to the side just to make sure that they don't touch, but really no contact and no problem between all of them. as Holly now ekes ahead, just about half a truck in front of Daniel Knight with the lead. With all this green flag racing, what is this going to do for the pit stop strategy, though, Chris?
Well, that's a really solid point to bring up, Joe. As we've mentioned a couple times, this is the legacy version of Michigan International Speedway. This is a little more sensitive on the tires than you see on the more updated version of Michigan. So these drivers that are really pushing it here in the early running are going to see their tires fall off sooner. And if this stays green, then they're going to have to be very particular with when they hit pit road, because it's going to have to maximize not only the wear on the tires so they're keeping up their speed on the track, but also has to get in there with enough time to make the tires last until the next stop.
Certainly has been some hard racing up there. A lot of different lines being taken. Knight, your current leader, second place contested between Holly and Regan. Then looks like, oh, and we have something going off of turn 2. Baron Hilton has to go low. I heard a few drivers on the radio saying that they were checking up, and it looks like despite some slight contact between Hilton and LeBaff, no wreck.
Very impressed so far with the drivers taking advantage of the wide room we have here at Michigan International to avoid getting too clogged up in these incidences. A very wide track, and that is helping these guys out tremendously.
Kind of impressed with how many lines there are, and I think we're starting to see the wear of the tires already. The 17 getting a little sideways off of 2. He's very slow down the backstretch and is being mobbed. Mulrooney to his inside, Holly to his outside. They're 3 wide for the top spot. The 17 decides it's better to just save the truck, and he backs out of it.
That's been one of the Achilles heels that I think the 17 has had the last couple seasons, and what really hurt him in that championship race is when it comes to saving tires, Daniel Knight's really a give it all you got type of person, and unfortunately doesn't always work out very well for the tire strategy, and we're seeing he's fallen off a little bit more than some of his competitors up there.
Continued 3 wide down into turn 1, but now it's finally sorted itself out. Mulrooney leads. Holly's up on the high side. Knight's gathered it together. He's back in third, almost fourth, though, as it appears to his high side, Dominic Begin trying to challenge. They come back into 4. They're getting ready to start lap 16 now.
And it looks like the 14 truck of Aaron Mulrooney may have been the person that was playing it the smartest here in the early running with the tire saving, because we get later in this run here and he has really turned up the wick, made it up to the top of the field, and up maybe 5 laps before that we had no idea he was even there. And another driver that's making his way up pretty quick here now is Abner Acosta, who looks like he's going to start sticking his nose up into that top 5 mix.
I've called plenty of races on Acosta over in sports cars, so I'm pretty certain he knows how to manage tires, and it appears to be the case here in the trucks for sure. But Mulrooney, he qualified 4th, so clearly he does have speed on 1-lap pace, and I think you're right. He must have been holding back as he leads another lap across the line. He's followed by Holly in 2nd, Knight 3rd, Begin in 4th, and as you mentioned, Acosta up to P5.
Dominic Begin there in 4th spot, Joe. Dominic is another regular in this series who's definitely a driver to keep your eye on. He has a lot of bad luck and doesn't always finish where it looks like he should be based on how he runs, but he's a pretty talented driver out there, and I look for big things from him sooner than later.
Up to 5th for Richard Regan. He gets underneath Abner Acosta. In fact, Acosta might slip down to 7th. Oh, is it just me, or does it look like a few cars are kind of sketchy off the turn 4 lately?
I think you are right there, Joe. I think those tires are really starting to give way, and these drivers are finding out the hard way that these tires aren't what they used to be when the grip's slipping away from them off of 4.
Slight contact into turn 1 between Holly and Mulrooney. An apology over the radio from Bradley. Nobody lost it because of that, but he gave him a good shot to the back.
Well, that's kind of the nature of the beast with this type of racing. You're going to have people that are on different agendas as far as what they're doing on the track. And when you have that in front of you and somebody's slowing up at a rate that you don't expect, it's not too hard to run somebody over.
So now back to single file. Mulrooney leading Holly, Knight, and Begin for your top 4. Regan is in P5. Calgill is just going to slip into 6th now ahead of Acosta. They're going through phases where everybody gets single file for about half a lap, and then suddenly everybody decides now is the time to make the move. Looks to be one of those laps where everybody tries to make the move. As down in ninth, Zemke, Sink, and Evans are all shuffled up. This is for 8th position.
And you see Patrick Cowgill up there in the 6th spot, Joe. He's having a pretty quiet, consistent race. Started 6th, has stayed there. So he's making a move on the 46 of Richard Regan, and it looks like Abner Acosta is going to make it 3 wide.
They're all going to come into turn 1 nice and cleanly, though. Regan eases ahead and out from the sandwich of Acosta and Cowgill. Oh, was there a little touch in the wall from the 17? He's suddenly slow. I think Knight maybe had a moment or something, because there is a big gap between 2nd and 3rd where Bajin is trying to catch up to Hawley.
I think you're right there, Joe. I caught it just out of the corner of my eye, but if he definitely pancaked the wall there. Daniel Knight coming off of turn 4 hard into the front stretch wall and right in front of the 46 of Richard Regan Jr. And Regan, unfortunately, nowhere to go, piles into the back. Looks like everyone's able to continue on, but there's definitely a good amount of damage to the 17.
Man, you weren't kidding about Knight starting to lose his tires through runs, as it seems like the handling of that truck is just nowhere right now. Everybody is able to get through it. Cowgill, though, looks eager to try and get out of this mess now. He's sitting in 6th place. Oh, I thought we had a spinning car potentially. I saw a lot of smoke for a moment.
Yeah, it looks like it may have been a moment for the 66 of Beijing. He is losing a lot of spots here.
Oh, yeah, so Bajin almost got into Bradley Hawley, who tipped the back of Mulrooney for the 2nd time. Mulrooney catches the truck. This is, wow. Go ahead.
Through all this, it looks like Abner Acosta is now up front.
Suddenly, I'm not sure if this is commentator's curse or not. After I said things have been pretty uneventful other than all the passes, we've had a few really scary moments for a number of drivers, yet still no caution. We're going to start lap 23 as they come out of turn 4. Is this where maybe you think some guys start to elect to come into the pits, Chris?
You got to think it's reaching that tipping point where a fresh set of tires will gain you more time than I just heard it over the radio. They're giving a warning to the drivers to be polite on pit road. So it looks like green flag pit stops will probably be coming up soon, Joe.
And they only have 3 sets of tires, including one other set that they started with that they're on right now. Up at the lead, it is Acosta on the outside of Mulrooney, but the 14 sends it in deep down into turn 3, so he takes the lead back. Daniel Knight holds 3rd, and Bradley Hawley back in 4th. I think I heard some drivers say checking up in the back. Are there some pit stops happening? Yes, I see Connor Hall in. So that's our first taker.
I was going to say Connor Hall was the driver who had the big moment early on in the race, Joe. So probably his tires may be a little worse for wear than some of the others after sliding across the track.
Acosta, once again, same position as last lap. He's in the lead with Mulrooney to the low side, and the 14 doesn't send it in as hard. He is still going to get into the lead, though. Nobody really motioning for the pit lane amongst our leaders. Connor was the only one that pitted last lap. Acosta switching back over down to the bottom side now. He gets it underneath Mulrooney and is going to get up to the top spot behind them. Bradley Hawley giving watch.
Yeah, you mentioned Abner Acosta's road racing background. He joined the Truck Series last season and took to it like a duck to water. Did get a win under his belt and has been very impressive here as Bradley Hawley now in the 184, pushing the 14 of Aaron Mulrooney back up to the lead.
And this time Mulrooney doesn't have to send it in deep into turn 3. He'll hold on to the top spot easily. Side by side between Regan and Hawley for that 2nd position as they cross the line, starting lap 26. Still not seen. Oh, yes. Now we got some takers on the pit lane. Looks like Austin Hunter, along with John LaBaff and Nicholas Hunter.
Yeah, I
So
figured
they,
it was only a matter of time before pit road started getting hit hot and heavy. And also, for those of you following along at home, feel free to pull up gsrc.tv on your computer or your smartphone.
apo- apologies, that's not up currently, but we will endeavor to try and get that up later. So up at the front, Mulrooney ahead of Holly, ahead of Acosta, ahead of Regan. And for the first time in the whole race, we've got a breakaway, half a second between Regan and Sink, P4 to P5. Down the back stretch they go. We are officially halfway through this race now here on lap 27. One more car in, and it is Daniel Knight. That's the first of our front runners to take the leap and try to pit. Will the early stop pay dividends?
You know, the way Daniel Knight was falling off, I think it's going to definitely help him out. I think the longer he stayed out on those tires, he was going to lose more time than it would hurt to give up to get the fresh tires on.
Chatley is in, Cowgill, as well as a third car that I'm trying to make out. That is Brett Adams that is pitting. Ooh, looks like we got a fourth one. Blaine Adams is in too. Looks like Brandon T. Adams also pitting. So a family affair down along pit lane. We're still waiting for about 26 of the cars to take their scheduled stop.
Looks like the 46 of Richard Regan Jr. ducking off towards pit road. Joe, that's going to be our highest running truck to hit pit road yet.
So one lap difference between himself and Knight. I'm kind of curious to see if Knight's going to gain a lot of time on him. Where is Knight right now? Knight's actually not the highest driver who's pitted. That is Brendan Chatley. Yes, Brendan Chatley is the highest driver to have pitted. He's sitting 28th, and now we got a whole slew of cars in behind Regan. Colton Lane, Zemke pits, Nick Schwartz, Mike Richter, Stacy Hunter. It's all kicking off.
And you can see it on track, Joe, if you look towards the front of our field. The drivers that are just coming off pit road with the fresh tires are just still getting up to speed and already driving past our guys that have been on the track for the whole run so far.
So let's see who's got the highest position of our pitters. It appears to me Chatley might still have it, but Regan and Lane have just exited, and they are quite a ways ahead. So Regan now our highest pitter. He's returned in 16th place as a couple more come down. Brandon Walter, Thomas Sink, Doug Evans, Mark Kalin, all down and already out, actually. Man, the pit stops are very quick today.
You know, it looked like that last lap that Aaron Mulrooney was trying to get down to pit, Joe, and he had some of the lap traffic from the drivers that have already pitted that was blocking his way, and the 184, Bradley Holly, made it down to pit road. So that may be an extra lap for the 14 that he wasn't intending on.
Holly, Bajin, and Shane have all pitted now. And there's the word from Mulrooney. The 14 announced he's pitting in. He's trying to blow up the truck and get down to the bottom. He's leaving it till quite late. Can he make it in? He's actually a little bit squirrely. So is the driver behind him. That is Abner Acosta, but they both hit the cones at speed. In the meantime, Regan and Bradley Holly have both exited, trying to make good use of their fresh tires. We're waiting on Danny Cervantes and Matthew Kulinek.
So that pit cycle just about coming through here, Joe. And interested to see how this all shakes out once everybody gets cycled through.
I think Regan Jr. is likely to have the lead here of everybody, although we won't know that for sure until maybe about now. Cervantes and Kulinek do have to come in, but Regan is way ahead of drivers such as Holly. Indeed, it is currently a 3-second gap from Richard Regan Jr. to Colton Lane. They're in 3rd and 4th currently, but they are the highest drivers to have pitted, so effectively Regan should be your leader. He is on the same lap as the leaders as well, Cervantes currently at the front of those drivers. So if we get a caution, he will effectively have the lead because Cervantes and Kulinek do have to come in for fuel and tires. And Cervantes is in. This will officially hand the lead over to the number 46. Once you get back to Colton Lane behind Regan, he's got a lot of company. I think the draft has sucked up those who have pitted near him or near enough. And in fact, he's going to lose second to Cowgill now with Bradley Hawley in tow. And then it's a whole bunch of cars, about 6 of them. Chatley, Sink, Bajin, Adams, Zimke, and Kalen. I spoke too soon. Kulinek has still not come in. We're on lap 34 now. How far can they go on a fuel tank in these things?
Well, I'm going to say at least 34 laps, but that's got to be pushing it, Joe.
Nice observation. As the 89 keeps going, but he doesn't look totally up to speed. In fact, I think he's getting ready to come in this time. He slows up the truck. No, he's still at it, but he's very, very slow.
You would think just based on how worn out those tires are that he would just be begging to come to pit road, but I'll give him credit. He's definitely sticking with his strategy.
I mean, at this point, there's a number of other drivers behind him, I think, that will also have to pit, so it could work out. The longest is Austin Hunter on 10 laps since his last set of tires were swapped out. And I believe we do have the timing and scoring up now, if I'm hearing correctly. So we should have it up here in just a moment. If you want to help follow along, apologies for slight technical problems today, but if you want to see who is where, head on over to gsrc.tv. We will have timing and scoring up in just a short time. Regan's going to take back the lead here as on his fresh tires. He's already up to Kulinek. That's the number 89 that you see there. Matthew has nothing in it, and Regan is just powering on by.
Yeah, you had to figure it was only a matter of time before that happened. Richard Regan Jr. was just so fast out of the pits, and the 89 truck and Matthew Kulhanek very slow on the bottom of the track. I wonder if he maybe even ran out of fuel on his way to pit road.
Well, we'll find out soon enough. No, it looks like he's at pit speed here. So I think he made it, and he comes into his stall. But all that time was lost running on those old tires. Granted, he's going to be flying back through the field now that he can put some fresh rubber on. He's got to hope that he can get out before Regan laps him. So your new order, Regan leads Hawley by about 1.8 seconds. Hawley is coming, though. He's cut that down from 3 seconds earlier. Dominic Bajin runs in P3 with Colton Lane in third. Bit of a fight between himself and Thomas Sink as they put a lap on the number 2 of William Lee. Kulinek makes his way back out and returns to the race.
You know, I gotta say here, Joe, that these drivers have done great so far to make it this deep in caution free.
And it's been action-packed racing as well. So, yeah, huge kudos to everybody for how they've been able to handle this whole situation. As Richard Regan currently leading by now 1.3 seconds. Hawley's chopping it off by huge chunks in oval terms. That last lap of 40.8 for Hawley compared to the 41.2 for Richard Regan. And there's only 2 laps difference between them.
Well, on these older track surfaces, that can make a huge difference. I mean, that is especially how they've been managing those tires up to this point on track as well. You know, we haven't been as focused on them with all the pit drama going on, but you got to wonder who's used up their stuff already into this run.
Holly and Bajin almost look like they're working together too. There you can see the tandem that they have formed. It's under a second now between the Canadian and the New Englander. They're partway through lap 40. Laps are running out, but considering the pace advantage that we're seeing from Bajin and Holly, that's probably going to be plenty of time for them to actually get to Regan and try to challenge him. So Regan, who has also faced off against Holly many seasons over the times here in the PRL, is going to try and pull the wool over him here for round 1 of 2021 of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series.
You know, the racing has been absolutely fantastic, and as stock car racing fans, we've kind of been conditioned to think, oh, 1.5, 2 mile tracks are quote unquote boring cookie cutters. But this setup of track has been absolutely amazing for these PRL trucks. The racing the last 2 seasons especially has just been absolutely amazing on these intermediate tracks. And it's a treat to be able to come here and watch this close a racing week in and week out.
Here they come. Can he do anything to stop them? Bajin to the high side. The Iron Maiden looking to take the pole away. Bradley Holly following. Is he going to go through as well and move himself up to second place? Yes, he is. Looking like he's just sitting still at the side of a creek. Regan, unfortunately, cannot stop the freight train. Oh, but look at him come back at him down into turn 3. He's going to fight for it. It just doesn't look like there's anything left underneath him.
Yeah, it looked like it was pushing on him a little bit off of turn 4, which is not going to help in his expedition to maintain the lead. But now it's Bajin up front, and Bradley Holly is going to be all over his back bumper. They worked great together to get back up to the front, but when it comes down to race victories, there are no friends.
And back there, you can see a 4th truck. That's Thomas Sink in the number 48. He could also be a threat for the victory here today. There you see him on screen. He is climbed up from 14th on the grid. And how about Bajin, who's currently leading, from 13th to 1st?
Yeah, I mentioned him earlier on in the broadcast. Dominic Bajin is a race winner just waiting to happen.
Can he make it today? Swinging down into turn 1 one more time. All this happening at 165 to 170 miles an hour around this D-shaped oval. Going to be down to 10 laps to go soon. Bajin, Holly, Regan, Sink, Kalen are your top 5. And in fact, reverse Sink and Regan because Thomas has now put himself onto the podium. Oh, but he has a bobble coming out of 4.
That's going to allow Regan to close right back up on his back bumper, but Regan does not make a move. It looks like he wants to link up with the 48 of Sink, and they're now in line going down the front straightaway.
He's trying to give some muscle to that Muscle Farm car, seeing if the two of them are quicker as a duo than by themselves. It certainly worked for Bajin and Holly. But do they have the tires to try and make this work? Right now, it's about half a second between P2 and P3 as we ride on board with Richard Regan Jr. Ten laps to go at the line now. How nervous is Bajin right now? You have to wonder, knowing that he's got Holly there to fight with.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, Joe, is that 184 of Holly is a very intimidating figure in this series. And to look up in your mirror and just see him filling up the mirror has got to be absolutely nerve-wracking for Dominic. But so far, he stayed pretty cool under pressure.
Ooh, and a lift from Holly. Is this a case? Is this a track that has enough slipstream that he wants to wait to make his move?
Well, he has been bitten by making a move too soon before. So you got to think Bradley may be biding his time and waiting for the right chance where Dominic won't be able to come back at him if he completes the pass.
The old station behind them, Sink is losing time. It's 0.8 seconds between Holly and Sink now. In fact, I'm starting to wonder if the number 62 of Kalen has a shot at getting to the podium. He's about 6/10 behind Regan.
No, you almost have to wonder too if the friendliness between Beijing and Holly is sort of a enemy of my enemy is my friend situation, with Beijing and Holly trying to put a gap between themselves and Sink and Regan so they can sort it out by themselves up front without having to worry about anybody else invading the battle.
Getting philosophical out here, and you have to wonder if anybody's going to have the book thrown at them by the time they get across the line. Because like you said, it can't last forever. Eventually, it's got to be war and every man for himself. Beijing still leads as they come down the backstretch. Going to be 7 to go when they cross the line. Holly once again showing no interest in trying to move past.
Oh, there's a pretty good bobble there by the 66 coming off of turn 4. He gets very close to the wall. But Holly doesn't even make an attempt to pass. He falls right back in line, Joe.
In fact, it does appear that he's trying to push him down the front stretch. Getting a little bit of a bump draft, and it is helping. It's up to 1 second back to Sink. Kalen's got it down to 0.4 of a second. I'm sure he's got a very realistic shot at being able to spray the champagne today. Don't count out Abner Acosta. He's not too far behind Kalen. We've been green this entire race so far. And here we go. Is this the move for the lead? You can see him ducking down to the inside. Has Bradley Holly decided he's used everything he's needed from Dominic Beijing and finally decides to make the move?
Beijing came down trying to stall out the run, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Give the lead to the 184 of Bradley Holly.
He's got a little bit of damage on the rear. You can see it. Is that going to affect his top speed? Is that going to make it easier for Beijing to just slipstream past? There's your answer. Look at him go. Beijing with a whole head of steam. And he is back up to the front. He's fully clear. Holly, is he going to go for the over-under? Is he just going to run the high side? He's running the high side. Oh, and he almost runs out of it. Both of them getting loose off of 4.
Yeah, this one's definitely getting a little chippy up front now, as Holly showed his muscle and fell back in line behind Beijing. But, Joe, these two I don't think are done.
And you know what this is doing? Sink gained time for the first time in many laps. He's now down to half a second. He's going to probably egg them on, encouraging them to fight for the remainder of the laps. Going to be 4 to go at the line. This time, though, Holly just waits patiently down the backstretch.
Well, I'm sure Holly saw that 48 machine get pretty big in his mirror. So he probably wants to maybe let things settle down for a moment and get an advantage built back up.
Oh, and Acosta got by Kalen while we weren't watching. That's P5 for Abner. The Hispano-American driver going to get himself a nice top 5 if he can stay with it. Onto the backstretch once again. And now I think Sink has the slipstream. He's down to 0.2 of a second. What could have been a two-person fight is now going to be a trio of trucks, and this is the worst news for Holly.
And that's definitely not going to be what Holly wants to see, is that 48 sticking his nose in there. And Thomas Sink is no slouch in this series either, Joe. He's a very real threat if he can get up there.
3 to go. We do have a green-white checkers if they suddenly get the first caution of the race today. We'll see if they can keep this clean all the way to the checkers. Looking to the high side. Thomas Sink thinking about it. Doesn't go for it, though. We don't know how much he has over them. I'm looking at the tires. He actually has 1 lap older tires, it seems. So Sink, unless he was saving them immensely, probably not looking at a grip advantage.
It wouldn't surprise me too much, though, if Sink was one of those drivers that maybe saved his tires for later in the run. It wouldn't be an unusual move for him by any stretch of the imagination.
And is it just me, or is Beijing defending now? Is he just keeping that truck as low as he can in most places?
Yeah, he definitely doesn't look like he's running for speed. He's looking like he's trying to run where it's going to hurt the 184 the most.
So they stay in line with a lap and a half left to go. We are on board with Bajin. Doesn't cover the inside soon enough, and the 184 gets a nose in. They're going to be side by side as Sink watches from the popcorn position. Can he do anything with this squabbling? No, they stay in order all the way down to the bottom as they take the white flag. We are going green from start to finish. Bajin leads ahead of Bradley Hawley with Thomas Sink just behind. And now they're towing in Acosta, who's gotten up to fourth past Richard Regan Jr. Could he have a shot going from fourth to first on the final lap? It's going to take a monumental move. Dominic Bajin, who has been looking for that win, is up at the front. Does he cover the inside? Yes, he does. He goes to block the 184. He can't get it down underneath him. He could get it off the corner. Let's see what kind of run he can find as Dominic Bajin comes off of turn 4, swishing around. Bradley Hawley can't kick it off with a win because it's going to be the Canadian Dominic Bajin winning in Michigan.
What a tremendous finish there, Joe.
Fantastic racing. No caution flags for all 55 laps, and yet we saw door banging and cars going and fighting hard all the way down the line. We're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Don't go away. Welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. The first round went caution-free here in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series, and it was Dominic Bajin who grabbed the victory from lucky number 13th position. Bradley Hawley, last season's champion, was not able to do anything in that last lap, just couldn't find the grip or the positioning on the track, and he had to settle for second. Still valuable points for him, I'm sure, as Thomas Sink grabs himself a podium from 14th on the grid. Abner Acosta was 4th, and Richard Regan was P5. Mark Kalin, 17th to 6th, not too shabby. Colton Lane finished in 7th, and Adam Zimke in 8th. Then you have to look at Brendan Chatley. We had so much action at the front, we really didn't get to cover the mid-pack, and going from 21st to 9th is a tip of the hat from me to the number 59 truck. Then in 10th, it is Danny Cervantes.
Just outside of the top 10 was Brandon Walter, who had a pretty quiet run to come home with a solid 11th place finish. Jim Westerfield would be next in line in 12th, with Patrick Cowgill fading at the end to come home unlucky number 13. A good run for Charles Sumner, started 27th, made it up to 14th with almost no practice time. Then Blaine Adams 15th. Jose Medina comes home 16th, and Adam Shane 17th. Aaron Mulrooney, after leading laps early on, fades to finish 18th, with Mike Richter and Nicholas Schwartz completing the top 20.
21st went to Daniel Knight, was not able to back up his qualifying performance, unfortunately. Doug Evans was 22nd, and Barron Hilton was 23rd. Then you got Stacy Hunter and a P24, followed by Ed Fowler in 25th. It was Austin Hunter in 26th, followed by Matthew Aubrey in 27th, and then William Farmer in P28. Nick Hunter was 29th, and 30th went to Brandon Adams, excuse me.
31st would be John LaBath in the 911 truck with Terry Marinero, in 32nd. Adam Young hung on for a 33rd place finish with Ryan Traver and Connor Hall completing the top 35. The Matthew Kulhanek, Shelby Huff, William Lee, Brett Adams, and James J. Dewar in 40th.
That's the whole field. Dewar, unfortunately, did not start. 39 trucks still started and finished this race. And at the top of them, it was Dominic Begin, who has put on an incredible show for us up at the front. Dominic, you started from 13th, yet somehow not far into this race, you found yourself vying for those top positions. That had to feel good.
Yep, a lot of fun, especially racing with the guys that were up front. It was a lot of fun.
Now, coming towards the end there, it looked like you and Holly kind of had a bit of a temporary truce. Was the working together intentional to try and get up to the top spot there?
Yeah, well, we basically pitted together, so we had to work our way back at the front, and I felt like Bradley give me a little boost there by not trying to pass me earlier on, because we would have both wasted their tires. So in the end, it pretty much helped me, and I'm pretty happy. Always good clean racing when I'm next to him, so it was fun.
Also, did you learn anything from the passes he was able to make towards the end? Because it seemed that final lap, you gave him no quarter.
Yeah, I knew he was going to have a good run on me, because I felt his tire were more, he had more tire left. So I figured I had to block the inside lane. If he get into 3 and 4 below me, there's a good chance he's going to finish in front of me. But, I got the good lane there, finish up in front, and was really happy with that.
Well, this was an incredibly impressive win, and hopefully this makes up for some potential lost ones in the past. Anybody you want to thank for the victory?
Yeah, my teammate Matthew and William. Of course, you guys, every time a good time to watch, and the PRL League. It's been a few years now. It's fun.
Great stuff from the number 66, taking victory here in round 1. Up next, though, Chris has caught up with last season's champion, Bradley Hawley.
Well, Bradley, a great run for you. Looks like you had a real chance at it there at the end. Tell us about your strategy there in the closing laps.
Yeah, mainly wanted to stay behind Begin to try to pull a gap, and then because I knew if I got side by side with him while we're trying to catch everybody, it was going to kill us and our tires. I figured with what I saw in practice, the longer you stayed out, the better off you were. And that's basically the strategy I chose tonight.
Well, didn't quite get you to victory lane, but definitely gave you a pretty solid run. Looks like tires were pretty important today. Did saving those tires help with your run at all?
Oh yeah, definitely. Saving is always important when it comes to these fixed setups. And I felt like I saved him a little bit better than Dominic, but he threw a good block going into 3, where I had to back out a little bit so I didn't turn him. But I got no complaints about it. It was a good race.
So with hindsight being 2020, what would you think if you could redo that last turn there? How would you do it differently this time?
Not get loose. That's pretty much all I can really do. I may have waited a little too long. I may have not. Just by the time we got to that point, it was tires were shot, and if you just overdrove it a little bit, it was gonna get a little wiggly.
All right, Bradley. Anybody you want to thank to help make tonight possible for you?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the Waterback guys for practice, trying to figure out what we need to do week in and week out. You guys for broadcasting us. Web Hearing for sponsoring the series again, and shoot, I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember anybody else.
Well, I'm sure you'll have plenty of chances to stop in with us this season and thank all those sponsors.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks for joining us, Brad. And Joe, I believe you got another one?
I do indeed. We have third place finisher Thomas Sink ready to talk to us about his podium today. Thomas, I'm sure you saw them fighting back and forth there at the end, and you had to be rubbing your hands together.
Oh, yeah. I saw him just going back and forth, and I was like, well, hopefully I can squeak by in the outside here. I need him to kind of race just a little bit more, and then have like 1 or 2 more laps. And then Abner just to be wiped off the map. I think another lap or so, I think he would have passed all of us.
Were you at all surprised that this race managed to go green from start to finish? I mean, we knew that this league has cleaned things up significantly, and the racing's been great the past couple seasons. But even I'm impressed.
Yeah, I think that was one of the first things out of Charles' mouth when we finished the race was like, "Congratulations, we went green at Michigan."
And with 39 trucks racing too, which is all the more amazing. So you kick things off with the third, but the qualifying didn't seem to be there, the 14th. Do you think you can improve on that next week since we're heading over to a road course?
Yeah, we had kind of a technical issue. I don't know if you guys saw with the open qualifying. Caught everyone off guard, and then we just couldn't, as a team, couldn't get organized well enough, and it just cost me in qualifying. I don't expect it to be much of a problem next week.
Well, again, fantastic stuff, climbing up the
Thank
order
you.
and managing a third. Is there anybody else you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Muscle Farm for sponsoring the truck. Thank you guys for putting on a great broadcast. PRL for putting on this league. I thank my girlfriend Bianca and the family at home, and all my teammates at Woodaback who do an excellent job at doing all the R&D.
Great stuff there from Thomas Sink. One more that we've got with a special event coming up a little bit later on. Chris is going to be talking to Brendan Chatley, who's going to be doing some charity work later this year.
That's right, Brendan. We have a couple weeks off for the holidays, but looks like you guys in the Rescue Racing Squad are going to be a little bit busy. Can you tell us about your event?
Yeah, on December 30th in this normal PRL Truck Series time slot, we will be hosting a charity race in the NASCAR trucks starting at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. We're going to be racing the Adopt an Underdog 124 at Michigan International Speedway, actually, but it's going to be the new one instead of the Legacy track.
All right, you guys are raising money for a pretty special cause. Can you tell us about it and what kind of brought you to that particular beneficiary of your charity?
So my dog Buster means a lot to me. Kind of really rescued me from some hard times that I was on a couple years ago. So I figured the best way to give back to him for saving me would be helping the other dogs and cats and animal rescues and shelters. So this past year we put together rescue racing, and we raised over $1,700 donated to a couple of animal shelters. And we wanted to get everybody else involved in PRL and iRacing, so we came up with the event on our off week to just help out some more.
Well, that is a very cool story and a very exciting event that we're all anticipating pretty eagerly here. Do you have any other sponsors or any other people associated with the event you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to say thanks to you guys for putting on the event, first of all. It's always great having you guys broadcast these races. I want to thank Established Traffic Control for putting up the costs for the broadcasting as well.
Well, thanks for joining us, Brendan, and we are very excited for the event coming up here in a couple weeks.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, back to you, Joe.
As someone whose both dogs have come from a shelter, that's a big one for me. I'm so proud of them for helping that cause out. But let's close things up with a few thank yous, starting off with our sponsors, of course. Once again, check out SimMSA at SimMSA.net. That is Simulation Motorsports Affinity, if you want to see how you can get involved with the worldwide sim racing community. And of course, NinjaTrader, and you can go to NinjaTrader.com to check them out. Also, today's broadcast was brought to you by Butt Kicker. Theirs is at thebuttkicker.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Chris, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media outlets, which includes Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Cram. And while you're here on our YouTube page, make sure and hit that big red subscribe button so that you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. We're switching gears. We're staying up here on the northern Midwest, and we're going to Road America next round Wednesday, January 6th. So until then, please have a happy holiday, and that'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern when we return. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. Make sure and check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.